I want you to think right now about a future version of yourself. That if we could just like snap our fingers and become that person, I want you to think about everything that they would be doing, what their life would look like, what they would be like as a person, what their business would look like. And I think, there is a chance that you have a really strong picture or sense that comes in. And it's something that it's almost like a little movie that's playing around in your mind. This is something that I used to do all the time, where I would really visualize into my future what that person looked like and everything that they were going to be doing. And over the course of my entrepreneurial life, this has been such a powerful skill in reinventing myself, because it's given me the ability to really see my potential. And I do believe that if we can visualize something, it is coming through for us to actualize that and bring that into our life. But if you can see that, we 100% can create that. And I remember being a little girl, and I would do this like all the time, where I could just have this like vision for my future. And it's so interesting looking back and doing all of the things that I actually thought that I would be doing. I love the process of reinvention. And I think that, every day that we wake up, we have a chance to reinvent ourselves and basically become a new person. There are things that we can do and stuff that you would be doing that I think often is overlooked. I think for a lot of us, we look for really dramatic ways in order to like improve ourselves or step into that. For example, this could be like, well, when I earn $1 million, I will do this or I will be this person, but not looking at like the tiny little things like the toothpaste that we use or what's in our fridge or the random thing that we buy. Like if we're buying sparkling water, like stuff like that. And reinvention is something that I have done over my entrepreneurial years. And there is a time it's actually standing out. So back in 2015, I was basically a depressed bitch. I had credit card debt. I actually got really sick. I had glandular fever and was hospitalized. My business obviously was not set up for me to kind of be removed for such a long time. I dated a guy that wasn't too fantastic for my mental health. And I found myself depressed, overweight, and in debt. And when I looked at these three things, like they just felt really big. Like it wasn't the kind of thing where, it was something just really small, like a tiny inconvenience. It felt like it went so much against the future that I wanted. And every day I would wake up and I just kind of had this like, almost like a heaviness about it. And maybe this is something you're experiencing. I'll be honest, this is something I'm kind of experiencing now, where I can look at my life and my business and there's just some stuff that feels heavy. It's just like this like extra baggage that I'm ready to just dump off. And I was blogging about this at the time on the original Professional Babe blog. Everyone got a beautiful monthly update on my letter from the editor segment, which I will say public accountability is amazing, but also at the same time terrifying. And I basically set out to, what was it? I think I had like $23,000 credit card debt at the time, as an overflow from being sick. And I just felt like I just couldn't kick this. I wanted to lose 14 kilos that I'd put on. And I think that there was something else. There was like three things that I basically had done, but the two were the weight and my credit card. And it's so interesting that I think my old self with planning would have done things really meticulously. I would have created like, to pay off your credit card debt, you're going to have to put away this much each month. And it's so funny that I never actually did that. I never actually sat down and was like, let me come up with a plan to lose X number of kilos in a month or to save this much money, whatever it was. I looked at the micro habits and who I was and what I was kind of doing. And that was so beneficial for creating a brand new existence where this just happened so quickly. And it felt like something where the results crept up really like the results just crept up because I think I was so focused on becoming a different person and like the micro habits that I was doing on a daily basis and not kind of like trying to stay the same person, but doing different actions and then expecting this beautiful result, It was very much like, well, if I desire to be this person with these shifts, I'm going to need to change myself on a cellular level. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to uncover a formula for being completely fucking unrecognizable. How fun is that? You know, it is October 11th of 2024. And I feel like around this time, people start to get into this whole next year is my year. And, you know, the best way to facilitate change is to never think that the future is your future or the future is going to look amazing. It is to basically make an intentional shift in this moment and to then change how you do things moving forward. So if we want to become unrecognizable, and this is in a period where it can be a year, it can be 3 months, it can be something where you're even like, I'm going to give myself 30 days. I think one thing to do is to kind of pick like a time period, because it gives us the ability to kind of, when we hit that, go back and reflect and then get really honest with ourselves and be like, am I doing the thing? Like, where am I falling down? What seems to be a block? And audit how we're showing up. So for me, I'm giving myself until the end of the year. So we've got like 2.5 months, just over 2.5 months. And I want to kind of have this marker in my diary, which is today, and I'm going to assess that on who I am in December 31st. And I want to be unrecognizable. I want to look back to even the little micro shifts in how I do things, to a point where how I make my bed and how I'm standing, how I'm carrying myself, what I reach for in the supermarket, how I respond to things in my business, how I show up, my energy that I put out there. I don't want to know myself from the person that I am now, because I can really vision this future version. I feel a bit itchy, and it's like, fuck yeah, baby, it's time. No wonder you're itchy. You are about to shed a new layer of yourself. So if you are having that kind of like itchy feeling and not like an unsexy rash, but I feel that this is just an itching of like releasing that past self, because you are fucking ready to step into that new version of you. So I think when it comes to being unrecognizable, there's a real like external transformation, but an internal transformation. And when I say external, I don't necessarily mean looks wise, but I think that it is something where it is external in the way that people recognize this of you. So for me, it would be walking into the office and people saying like, oh, you look different, or you've got this incredible energy about you. You know, it's recognizable to them, but then the internal stuff is really recognizable to me. So don't think that I'm saying that you need to change how you look. You absolutely don't have to do that. But this is just about something where there is this real twofold effect. And what you may find is that you'll probably, people may see this before you can kind of acknowledge it in yourself. But I know there may be like you realizing this and it taking a while for people to kind of catch up and see this as well. So I think when it comes to the first step of this is the reinvention of self, is that you have to see the vision for where you're going. If you don't already have my Who Are You Becoming little offer, it's $35. I will link that, but we have a really beautiful task in there. But there is a chance that, you know, right now you already have a vision for your future. So what I would get you to do is just like write this down or get images. You know, this is where you can do, say, like a vision board, or you can journal things out. Something that I like to do is anything that like I love on Pinterest or even Instagram, I save these posts, and anything that kind of stands out to me or has something where it's like, how do I describe this? Have you ever like watched a movie and then all of a sudden you have this scene or there's just something in it and it feels like that it's unlocked like a new color or a new emotion, and it's just, you're almost like in awe and amazement and wonder. I remember I had this when I watched The Love Witch, and I was like, this is the greatest piece of art that I've ever seen in my life. And it made me want to just be a completely different person, because it just unlocked something for me. This is where, if you are a fan of the Expanded podcast by Lacey Phillips, her brand is To Be Magnetic. She talks about this all the time, and she calls them expanders. So this is a phrase from her. And she talks about how expanders actually show your subconscious what is possible. It highlights something that is almost like hidden within yourself until it has been revealed from another person or something that you've kind of witnessed. And she talks about this quite in depth on her podcast. So if this is something that you are interested in, please go and explore her work. But she even talks this in a way where it's like, you know, follow people that are expanders. So this could look like, for example, I would love to get into a relationship. I'm 36. I'm an incredible person. I'm like, why has this not happened? Why has this happened to me? One of the worst things that I can do is follow like the doom and gloom relationship stuff and people ranting about dating. One of the best things that I can do is follow people that have had a similar, say, journey to me. So people that have had a really thriving business where that has been their focus and they've found love. I don't want to say later in life because 30 isn't old, but they've found love in their 30s. So just like I'm showing my brain like what is possible. So the first step is really crafting or identifying what is this vision for the future, because it's very hard for us to do something in our life and in our business if we actually don't know how this is going to look. We may hit it, or we may be kind of moving around in this weird way where we're really influenced by what people say that we should be doing or what we think that we should be doing, and not actually what we desire to do. So what I would encourage you to do is to just like, you can do this by auditing your week, or seeing how you feel and seeing kind of what you're gravitating towards and looking at, what has lit you up, what hasn't lit you up, what feels really exciting. And something as well is that any negative emotion is really powerful feedback. So I have had a few situations with my close friend group. I feel like that they just do amazing things. Like I feel sometimes like I'm my only friend that doesn't have a book, and I'm the only one that has like a smaller Instagram following. And it's really interesting kind of having conversations and seeing what they're doing and seeing their like brand deals and how they're doing all of these incredible things. And I kind of have felt a bit less than, probably isn't the word, but I'm just like, oh, I wish that was me. Like kind of just like that feeling of, like, I would love that. And when I was younger, this used to manifest where I would feel really jealous, where I think now I've done the work enough where I don't ever feel jealous. I'm always happy for people. But I always see this as, if I ever feel like, oh, I want that, or any kind of negative emotion, it's always for me now it's almost like unlocking a new level in my entrepreneurial life where I have just discovered something new that I can bring into my business or my personal life or my existence now. So what I do here is, as that happens, I start to kind of like not brainstorm, but I bring those elements into my business plan and my vision. So, one of them was like, I have a friend and she's hit like 100,000 followers on Instagram, Emma from the Broke Generation. I'm so fucking proud of her. And I was like, oh, I would love that. And what I do is I never stop the story. So I'm never like, oh, I would love that. Because what I used to do is I would kind of like ruminate on that and I would get into this weird little jealousy spiral. So I unpack that and I'm like, okay, well, what would I actually like about that? What would that mean? If I did have 100,000 followers on Instagram, how would my business look different? What opportunities would I have available? Who would I be? What would my content look like? And this just gives me the ability to kind of really feel into all of that. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, if I have 100,000 followers on Instagram, I'm probably going to have someone helping me with my content. I'm going to have a cinematographer. I'm probably going to be a lot more committed to my content, where I'm going to be doing regular shoots. I'm going to have an incredible wardrobe. And you can see here how it's like, instead of just getting stuck on this thought, I'm now expanding on what that looks like. And I can start to brainstorm that out. So I love to work visually. I love to like get on Pinterest, create boards. I've actually created like a secret board at the moment, which I call like I am her. And one thing that I love to do is, whenever I'm feeling really stuck, if I'm stuck in my day or stuff is feeling a bit funky, like I had this day yesterday where I was like, oh, just flat and feeling a bit fucked, I took myself out for coffee, and instead of kind of forcing myself to work, I was like, you know what, let's just spend 5 minutes just becoming her and just remembering who she is and what that vision looks like. Because you don't realize that when you have these little micro reminders of rereading something or seeing these visuals, it will influence every action moving forward. Because, if we have the life that we have now, it is based on our past actions and our standards and how we've done things. And if we want a different life, we are going to have different standards, different actions, and different emotions. So anything that you can do to kind of remind yourself of this new level, you won't realize, but it will influence things on a micro level with every decisions and how you kind of like hold yourself and how you carry yourself. So an example of this could be, you may want to become more outgoing. You may have a friend and you're like, oh, I love that they just strike up conversations with people. And this is something I don't do. I'm probably introverted and I just want to be like a bit more outgoing, where people say, oh, I love her personality, or I love her vibe, or I love her energy. And it's easy for us to go into autopilot, especially if, we are the quiet person. We'll stick with this example, where you'll say go into a cafe and your autopilot is that you're not going to really say anything. You're going to go and like put your order in for coffee and then that's it. Could you imagine if you had this little micro reminder of whatever that is? Maybe it's rereading something or look at your vision board and you see, oh yeah, outgoing, love the vibe, love the energy. And then before you go into a cafe, you've looked at that, you walk into the cafe and instead of just putting your order in, you like look at the barista and you're like, I love your smile. You're just so happy, or I love your energy, or your outfit today looks fucking incredible, or how sensational is the weather? Like you cannot have a bad day when it's this beautiful outside. And you don't realize that just having that little reminder beforehand will influence the smallest thing. And then what will happen is the act of repetition will kick in. And if you repeatedly do this and you do this over time, guess what? You are going to have a part of you that is completely unrecognizable, because it's going to be such a shift from the person that it was before you created this and as you were kind of coming up with these ideas to the person that actually lives this out in their life. And this is something that I do every single day. I am really put together. I do my hair every day. I put my face on, I wear makeup every day. I wear a nice outfit. I never used to be like this. I never used to be like this. I was someone that was always in activewear. I used to work ridiculous hours, like 80 to 100-hour weeks. And it was quite often that I would just get out of bed and I would throw on whatever activewear was nearby. I didn't even care if it matched. I would put on my Havaianas, so my thongs or flip-flops for our American listeners. And I just didn't care. And I usually look tired, and I can look back at pictures of myself and how it's really interesting. And I don't even know what actually I do. I remember seeing a picture of Dita Von Teese, and she was on her way to Pilates, and she had this like beautiful cage bra, so a bra with these like beautiful like straps like over her bust and her décolletage, and she had on this beautiful black outfit and lipstick, and her hair was done. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, I want to be that. I want to do that. And it was a real gradual shift of me just putting a little bit more effort into my appearance. So, making sure my hair was done, adding some lipstick or lip gloss, putting on some eyeliner. And then it was continually doing that over time. It wasn't, this hard swing to the left where I was doing all of these different things, but it was doing something and just making that intentional shift. And it all started by getting inspired and seeing this picture. So I feel that you are going to respond to a number of different things. So let me just throw some ideas out. You may find Instagram. You look at someone's life or you look at their account and you're just like, oh, I love that. I will even say if you feel really activated by it, ask yourself why. And sometimes we feel activated because we feel like they have something that we can't ever have. And that may not be true. Or I guess it depends. Like if you're like looking at someone and they're like a literal billionaire with like 500 different houses, or I don't know. not that we want to discount that, but it's like, don't ever look at someone if they have like a partner or they have $1 million business and you're like, I can't do that, because 100% you can. Like everything is in reach for you. It could be movies. It could be reading. It could be looking on TikTok, like whatever it is, have this kind of like point for inspiration, and then make sure that whenever you feel inspired or it feels like that it just unlocks this new level, that you can kind of take that and you can add that into something. So again, for me, I save images, I add things on Pinterest, but I'm forever kind of like creating this new life and this new existence to this kind of like little, we'll call it like a little mind movie that I have playing of who I vision myself to be in the future. So when you have this vision, again, Lacey Phillips, we've got to find expanders. So add these people into your life and make sure that that is something that you see on a regular basis. I think that some of you may find this hard, but what I would also recommend that you do if you do this is that you intentionally remove or you mute people that are the opposite of that. And this can be something that you just do temporarily, but it's kind of like it's something that you need to do while you find your feet. And this just becomes a little bit more second nature. And then you can add these people back in. So, an example of this, let's just go with dating, is I really need to be around people that are like, men are incredible, true love is out there, you are going to find someone amazing. It is very, very, very easy for me to latch onto men are crap, men cheat, it's all crap, no one's happy. That's really easy. If you were to be like, make a list, debating both, there was a point where I couldn't add anything onto the positive one. There was no evidence. I could fill pages, maybe a fucking book for the negative one. And what I had to do is I had to unfollow all of the accounts that really reaffirmed this negative belief that I had. I had to even sometimes avoid friends or avoid conversations where this is what they would talk about. Then when I got some more confidence, I started to tell people, hey, I'm making some really intentional choices and I need to make sure that I'm not kind of like filling my head with noise that is going to affirm a belief that I don't want to have in my life. So I don't want to talk about this. Like, I don't want to say men are trash. I really just want to have like a positive outlook on what this looks like. And then what you'll find is if you do that enough, you'll get to a point where you don't even need to have these conversations because you're so good at just either turning it off or you just don't even notice it anymore. And this is something that you can do in your life as well. So if you have a business, and there is like a 99.9% chance that you do because you're listening to this podcast, this can even be as simple as, I feel a lot of people latch onto the belief that business is really hard and that no one is doing well. And this is where you can really seek out posts that validate how you feel, where you'll follow people that just love to have a fucking whinge because, it's easy. It's easy engagement because you don't really need to have like a lot of thought behind a bitch. It's easy to pile onto. Maybe you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like you know what? Maybe. Like, let's just mute this and let's actually go for people that are talking about how business can be incredible. And yeah, it's hard, but you are going to be okay. And you will maybe not notice it straight away, but over time, when you go back to the content that you originally binged, you will find this so grating because it feels really foreign because you have had this shift within yourself where now you're like, yeah, this doesn't really fit me anymore. I don't really like this. This happened when I went on this like protocol and it said I had to give up milk. And I was like, milk, I love my coffee. I was like a double cap girl, loved a double shot cap. And I had to quit milk. And I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to have to go to long blacks. And I remember one day I was craving milk. I was like 2 weeks in and I was like salivating for milk. Like of all the things that you could crave, I wanted a creamy, milky coffee. And I went out and I ordered one. I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to go and have this like secret coffee. So I got the coffee and I went to like, bring it up to my mouth to take a sip and my nose smelt the milk and I thought that I was going to be sick. And it's so funny. This was back in, oh my gosh, this was 2016. So this was actually in that period of my life where I was so committed to becoming a new person. I remember pulling the coffee cup away from like my mouth and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Anyway, then I'm like, no, just take a sip. And I remember taking a sip and feeling so physically unwell from this milk. It's like it was really clear that I did have to kind of temporarily remove dairy because my body was like, this is just a no deal. But it was very hard to do at the time because I didn't have that separation. And because I had then witnessed the milk back into my life, I was like, oh my God, I feel physically unwell. I ended up tipping the coffee out. And I was a long black drinker. Oh, when was that? From 2016 basically till now. And it's only recent, I'm going to say in the last 3 months, that I'm like, yeah, I feel like having like a mocha. Like I just want something that's like warm and hot and creamy. And I went off milk this whole time because it just was like, this is just not agreeing with me. So it's as simple as that. So I do think that it is good to kind of go back and have that experience. And this could be going back and looking at, who were you? Let's like go and reassess things that you would do and habits that you did have and accounts that you did follow and ways that you would show up in your life and your business. And we're just going to go and like, we'll call it sniff the milk, like go and sniff the milk again and just be like, yeah, is this like, how am I responding to this? One thing I want to do is I really love to sleep in. I don't sleep that well. I don't sleep that well at night. And I can easily now sleep in until midday. I love to just lay in bed and do nothing and just like go to sleep. But I'm really finding that it fucks my morning and it fucks my day and it sets me up in a way that I don't really love. And what I'm going to let myself do is I'm going to have a morning routine where I actually get up. I'm probably not going to like it, and that is okay. But guess what? I'm probably going to have a day when I'm maybe like 2 or 3 weeks into this routine where I sleep in or I do something, and then I get to witness how that feels and how I respond and if I like it. And if you've done this before, and maybe it's maybe it's sleep, maybe it's something else, quite often it is a reminder of holy shit, the thing that I didn't really love, that I didn't really know was working, it actually is working because of how different I feel of something that I always used to do. I've had another experience, I'd smelt the milk and I don't like it. And this comes back to another point, which is, the micro identity changes. I think a lot of the time we want these big results. We want to become unrecognizable in a particular way, like our business or who we are or how we're showing up or our relationships. And we don't want to just convince ourselves that we're just going to like click our fingers and then overnight stuff shifts, because things will shift from, again, that intentional choice and that intentional daily action. So just look at your morning routine and how you do stuff. Like, how do you get out of bed? Are you like, oh, I'm really tired? Do you have nice slippers that you put on? Do you make your bed? Do you stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself and you're like, you're a bad fucking bitch. You're incredible. I'm obsessed with you. Like, what do you do? When you brush your teeth, what do you use? How do you brush your teeth? Like, how do you walk? How do you stand? We don't realize the little things. This is something that I'm probably hyper aware of, because with Pilates, when I have my studio, I would tell clients all the time, I can give you the best class, but this is just an hour out of your week. And if you walk out of the studio and you slouch, it's going to mean shit, because what you do outside of this class is going to have a much more dramatic impact on your body than anything that we do in this hour. I can give you the skills and I can get you to feel this into your body, but it's up to you to take that and continue with that. And an example of this could be, you could listen to this podcast, you get really hyped up. This could be, say, the most positive half an hour in your week. But then if you turn this off and you go back to your thoughts, which are, oh, you're fucked, business is hard, no one likes me, what do you think is going to win? And then how do you think that that is actually going to influence your life? This is something I have had to work on so much. And I know a lot of the time people are like, I don't believe you. I had the worst negative self-talk. I look back at my 20s and I get so emotional thinking about this, of just how much hate I actually had and how so negative my self-talk was. I love my parents, but my father was very, very, very hard on me. And, I would get 95% in a test, sometimes even 100%. And he'd be like, how could you have done better? How could you have done better? Because he was always priming me for excellence. And the shadow side of that was I just continually thought that I was not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm terrible. Oh my God, I'm terrible. And you don't realize that because it's so close to you and it's something that you experience on a daily basis, that this just becomes part of you. And this is where I discovered the work of Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School, and how she was about with her model about how your thoughts create feelings and feelings create an action. And when we take an action, we get this beautiful result. And oftentimes we think our thoughts are a circumstance, but really it's just a thought, and we can change that. And this is where I had to start to change how I spoke about myself and how I responded to things. And, I would do something maybe in business and it wouldn't work out. And instead of being like, oh my God, you're such a dumb bitch, you're really fucking stupid, I would then be like, you're doing the best that you can. You are doing the best that you can. At the time, I wasn't like, oh, you're incredible, this is amazing, it's all working out, because that felt like a real far stretch. I had to just kind of take a step up on what I was doing and how I was feeling. And it's you are doing the best that you can. Same with exercise. I've gone through periods of my life where I just haven't exercised. I've had lots of injuries and surgeries, and I would want to go back to this peak. And I was like, well, you're not going to be able to run 10 kilometers. So why don't we just start with walking around the block? don't think that this needs to be like a real hard shift, because I think that we overlook like small intentional action and how much of a benefit that actually that can have on us in our life and in our business. So what you can do here is this can be something where you can just be like, I'm just going to be aware of like how I am and what I do and how I do things and the actions that I take in the next hour or the next half an hour, and just set a timer. And this can be something that you do a couple of times a day. And you could do this for your business or your personal life. And then look and see, okay, cool. If I know this vision of what I want this to be, what can I kind of do and what changes could I make? So for example, I'm sitting in this chair now and I'm really slouching. And one thing that I vision for my future self is how she holds herself and how she carries herself and how she walks into a room. I can just do something really simple as just sit up a little straighter. And again, we overlook things like this because we want the dramatic benefit, but we forget that doing this repeatedly gives the dramatic benefit. Another thing, I want to be healthy. I have a fucking glass of water sitting right next to me, and I have not shut up for the past half an hour of this podcast recording. I could literally just stop, take a breath, know that I'm going to edit this. I can stop and have a drink of water. Things like that, where it's like, don't overlook the small little actions that we have in our daily life. So when you do all of this, I think one thing that is really important that you need to consider is the discipline or the devotion. And I feel one word you are going to kind of gravitate towards more so than another. I think a lot of people don't love the connotations of the word discipline, but you need to be devoted then to this future version of yourself. And because you are moving or living in this way of devotion, we need to remember that even though at the time that we can set out to do something and this feels really good, sometimes we are going to have periods where it does not feel good, because motivation is a feeling and feelings are fleeting, and we can't rely on a feeling and getting that in order to kind of move. And what I mean by that is it's because we are moving in a new way in our personal life and in our business, it's sometimes going to feel exhausting, and it's sometimes going to feel really easy to go back to how things were because we don't have the motivation to drive us forward. So it is a real art to move forward, experiencing negative emotions, but also not experiencing the results yet, and allowing this to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I would hear this all the time in Pilates, where, people would do an exercise or they would move their body in a particular way, and they're like, this feels really awkward. And I'm like, yeah, of course it does, because you're moving in a way that you've never moved before. You've never done this. Of course it feels awkward, but you need to keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, it's just going to feel like second nature. So you want to make sure that you are not using how you feel as a barometer of this when you are kind of in this like new version of change. Because if you're using that, you're like, oh, this feels weird, I'm just going to go back to the safety of what I know. But remember that that's not going to serve you. If like, you're not just going to wake up one day and kind of like monkey branch from like one thing to the next of old life and new life and not experience any negative emotions. This is why a lot of people won't have a successful business, because they just are not willing to experience or feel the negative emotions or become the person that does that. This is why a lot of people say, I want to get fit or I want to lose weight, and they don't fucking do that because they're just not willing to put up with that. This is something I have to work on. I have said for how long I want to fit back into my old COVID wardrobe. And I was only talking to a psychologist that we have at work, and I said, I get annoyed with myself at times because I actually know everything to do. Like, I am so qualified in order to facilitate this. And I said, but it's my fucking brain working against me. And I think it's because it's really easy for me to fall into old habits and do things that really feel good in the moment, but not necessarily are good for my future. So that's another thing to remember. Something can feel amazing now, and it can be really good to self-check and be like, is this serving me now, or is this serving me for the vision that I want? What's more important, the future? Because you're gonna get there eventually. And you don't want to wake up one day and still be in the same spot that you are now, because this is where I feel that people get almost like fed up with their life because they're fed up with the same shit. If you hate the shit that you're experiencing now, do you think if you are still dealing with that in 3 months, you're going to be more at ease with it, or are you going to be even more pissed off because you're like, holy shit, 3 months has passed and I'm still experiencing the same crap? You're not going to be happy, okay? So the best thing that you can do is to just decide from today, from this moment, that you are going to start to actualize and create the version of yourself, the vision for your future, and put that into motion right now. So hopefully there has been some good little nuggets for you to chew on in this episode. I've loved this. I feel really good. It's really funny. I wanted to record this, but there was a little bit of resistance because I'm looking at my screen now and I've just got like 6 words in front of me. And I was like, I feel like this is going to come together in a podcast episode. But I've loved this and I feel really incredible and lit up. I love this. I love you. I love you so much. I love you more than our sexy little front desk team at Central House. Thank you so much. I actually, there's a really funny story. I sit in this like dedicated desk section, and there's this guy near me, and one of the beautiful front desk staff, Maddie, she was doing this like little walking tour, and one guy was like, I think it was like, my brother sits there, I'm going to go write him a note. Anyway, I looked at Maddie and I was like, I want a note. I want like a sexy note. Anyway, this man was like bending down writing this note, thinking that I'm flirting with him. I was flirting with Maddie. Anyway, so I've been telling her this whole week, I want a sexy note. Where's my sexy note? And today I get a sexy note left on my desk. And she wrote something where it was like, I did the sexiest thing I could think of, ... And then over the page, she was like, you. And there's all these little cutout pictures of me. And it was kissed. And it was just so cute. So I love that. It was so unexpected. Well, it kind of was. It kind of wasn't, because I have harassed about this piece of paper for such a long time. But it was just, it was so lovely and it was so thoughtful. And I keep all the stuff like this. So I love you more than that. I love you more than compliments. How fun are compliments? I'm wearing a new dress today. Well, it's not a new dress. I usually wear black, but I'm wearing a dress. It's like this Mr. Zimmy red, pink, and cream animal print. It's very, very, very titty. It's probably not workplace appropriate, but I love the compliments that I have gotten about that. I also love inside jokes. How fun are inside jokes when you kind of have like a thing with someone that you know, and it's like if you were to try to explain it to other people, they would be like, I don't get it. And it's not even funny. Or well, it's funny to you, but if you were telling other people, they would look at you like you were insane. I love that. I love you so much more than that. Oh, I love you more than the $8 wines that I had yesterday. So I went out for a drink with my friend Maxim, and I was like, let's just go to this place near you randomly. It was the hotel that I was living at last year, and they do happy hour and they do $8 wine, and the wine was really good. It came in a sexy glass. Love a good fucking glass. The sun was coming in. It was just spectacular. I also love you more than the fact that I got taken to lunch this week. I actually helped someone at work with something. He was just kind of telling me something. He's like, I don't really know if I can like if you can help me with my business stuff, because he came to my email event. And then I'm like, well, what do you do? And then I said, how many deals do you like a year? Do you like, are you one deal a day or like one deal a year? And he was like, one deal a year. And I'm like, oh yeah, completely different businesses. But he was telling me about his business and I gave him some advice. It was like out of pocket random advice. And he was like, this is incredible. And he is kind of actioning that at the moment. And as a thank you, he's like, I want to take you out for lunch. So we went out for this sexy little lunch, this little 2-course lunch special. I had the cured trout, which was fucking sensational. I want to eat it for every single meal. And I put this now on my vision board that I'm going to have so much money, future me is, that I'm just going to walk downstairs, go to Cicconi's, and I'm going to sit down and they're just going to know that I want my beautiful cured trout every single day for lunch. So I love that I've kind of unlocked that. It's gotten me really excited. And yeah, who knows? One day maybe we'll do like a VIP day for you. You'll be here and we will go to the restaurant and we will have the sexy trout. Anyway, hot stuff. Hopefully you have loved this episode. If you have, please let me know. Leave a review, share it on socials, which would of course make my day, and slide into my DMs and tell me how it's made your life better. Mwah. I'll see you on the next episode.